ever considered all of the opponents that you have to face off of the court, off of the field? Everyone talks about the opponent on the field, on the court, right? You watch a game on TV, maybe you play the game yourself as an athlete, maybe you watch your son or daughter play the game and you're watching the opponent and you're sizing yourself up to the opponent. But what about all of the opponents off of the field, off of the court? What about the things that happen off the court, such as, for professional athletes, it's fame. This is for all athletes: ego, contracts, agents, spouses, all sorts of different things. Pat Riley, when he was a coach of the Lakers, called them peripheral opponents. All of the things that take away the chance of success for the athlete on the court. All of the things off the court that take away the chances for success on the court. He calls those peripheral opponents. Now, Pat Riley, obviously he's an executive for the Miami Heat right now, but he's a legendary coach for the Lakers, legendary coach for the Heat, NBA executive for a number of years. I don't even know how many championships he has. He has a ton of NBA championships, so definitely highly respected. He really stressed peripheral opponents in ego, fame, contracts, all sorts of things like that. But how do you deal with peripheral opponents? How do you deal with all of those off the court issues? How do you deal with all those off the field issues? And the answer I'm about to give you is not what you expect. It's not what you're going to expect anyone to say in that situation, right? So you may be thinking, okay, to deal with all of those issues, there's a couple of schools of thought. So a couple of schools of thought would be to eliminate as many of those distractions as possible. Eliminate the time that you're spending out, eliminate the distractions with women, with men if you're a female athlete, eliminate the distractions off the court for whatever it is, for the ego, eliminate the distractions on social media, eliminate the distractions with the media. If you're a professional athlete or a high profile collegiate athlete. So that would be one school of thought, is just to eliminate them, just completely remove yourself, just completely disassociate yourself from those. And obviously there's a couple of other ones, but the real way to deal with it is not to actually focus on those external things, not to focus on the peripheral opponents, not to focus on those things and not to figure out how to specifically deal with each one, but more specifically how to deal with yourself. There's always going to be peripheral opponents. There's always going to be opponents off of the field, off of the court, that are going to have an effect on how you perform during the competition, during the game. There's always going to be peripheral opponents that take away your chances of success on the field, on the court. But how to deal with those peripheral opponents is not necessarily to focus on them specifically. The way to deal with them is to specifically focus on you. Focus on developing your mindset, focusing your emotional attachment or disattachment or disassociation from those things, or working on how you act in all of those areas. So those peripheral opponents, the key is not to focus on those peripheral opponents, because you can't change those things. You can't change social media. You can't change agents. You can't change contracts. You can't change what other, competition is doing. You can't change any of those things. The best way to deal with peripheral opponents is to deal with yourself. When you begin to change, the things you see, the things you hear, the things you feel begin to change. So it's all about focusing on yourself, developing yourself as an athlete, so that all of those peripheral opponents are going to stay the same. You can't change all of those things, but you can change the way you look at those things. You can change the way you react to those things. So it's more about going inward. It's more about developing yourself. So peripheral opponents, they are inevitable. You can't eliminate them. They're always going to be there. Always. You can prepare yourself to deal with them, but you're not always going to be able to prepare for 100% of them, because resistance comes up. Things come up out of nowhere oftentimes out of nowhere, things that we don't expect, things that we don't anticipate. They're going to come up. They're going to happen. They're going to arise. So the best way to deal with them is to deal with ourselves. So anyways, I hope everyone's having an awesome day. We'll see you on the next video.